You know he is paying attention. There is no room for doubt. If there were sincerity, you wouldn't need to interpret signs. If there were transparency, you wouldn't be here analyzing every gesture. If there were real courage, words would not be necessary. It's simple. He watches, he admires, he comes closer. And you perceive, analyze, doubt, wait. This is not a matter of luck. It's a pattern. It's his way. He smiles at you, finds reasons to talk, makes an effort to be around. There's no mystery. There's a clear cycle. You call it interest because obsession is confusing. You prefer to label it as passion to avoid facing the intensity. He keeps himself present even if silently. The admiration is there, visible but still unnamed. It is not love, it is a fixation. And this fixation only grows. You wonder if you should act, if you should reciprocate. Meanwhile, the signs are piling up. The fixed gaze, the indirect messages, the way he changes his route just to pass by you. None of this is accidental. It's deliberate. If you don't notice, he will continue, hoping you take the lead. And while you hesitate, he continues to watch you. The truth is clear. His intensity will not disappear. It will only become more evident. What will you do with this? That depends on you. Reality has already been presented. You notice the details, the way he leans closer when you speak, the softer tone of voice, the forced laugh. He seeks your attention, and that's a raw truth. You feel it on your skin, the heat that emanates, the almost palpable tension. It's a chess game. A wrong move and you may lose the match, and still you remain silent, a spectator in your own life. Hours pass, days drag on. Each encounter is a new opportunity for something to change, but nothing changes. The cycle merely repeats. He advances, you retreat. He tries, you hesitate. He takes a step towards you, while you take a step back, an uncomfortable dance. The mind works. Questions accumulate. What does he really want? Why doesn't he take the initiative? You force yourself to interpret every word and gesture. The anticipation grows, along with this confusion. Why doesn't he say what he feels? The fear of the unknown sets in, and you wonder if you should take the risk, and now in front of the mirror, you do another analysis. The reflection reveals more than you would like to see. What do you really want? What are you hoping for? This connection, this exchange of glances, weaves an invisible thread that unites you, but also imprisons you. You could act, but the choice is tied to fear. The heart beats faster while memories cast shadows over your thoughts. Shared moments, laughter, deep conversations. All of this echoes, but it is not enough. You know there is more, but it is as if an invisible barrier separates your intentions from reality. He continues to smile, to flirt, but does not advance. And you wonder if this pattern is enough, if the possibility of a development is real or just an illusion. When you observe his behavior, you realize that he is also stuck. He clings to the idea he built around you, an idealized image that exists only because you allow it. He likes your presence, but the action does not materialize. The bond feeds on hope and uncertainty. And then, in a moment of clarity, you understand. The energy between you is charged with expectation, but emptied of authenticity. He is as paralyzed as you are. It is the comfort zone you both created, a bubble of unresolved desire that remains intact. What will you do with it? Time keeps passing. The intensity of the situation only increases. He will continue to be there, admiring you from afar. But the issue is not just about him, it is about you, about what you want, about what you are willing to fight for. You realize that the responsibility for change is not in his hands, it is in yours. Remaining inactive will be a choice. Acting requires courage, but you need to know what you want. It's not about saving someone, it's about deciding for yourself. Days will turn into weeks, weeks into months. You can wait for a miracle that might never happen or take the first step. The cycle will only end when you decide. There is no magical answer, and while you reflect, you see the consequences of it, the potential for something new against the weight of uncertainty. You can remain in this limbo or break the chain. What keeps the trap functioning is your willingness to remain captive. Make sure that the decision you make is not driven by hope. This is not love. It is a power game, a silent battle where everyone holds their cards and waits for the other's move. It is time for you to decide what role you want to play. The possibilities lie before you. Choose wisely. He may be waiting for you, but the truth is that you are waiting for yourself. The moment has come to face the raw reality. He may hope that you take action, but you need to understand that acting is part of freedom. What you are willing to do will define what comes next. There are no comforting promises here, only the certainty that time does not wait. Reality has already been presented. You notice that the interactions are increasingly superficial. Communication becomes an empty dance where words are just echoes. And you notice the repetition. He makes a joke, you smile. He compliments, you thank. Each gesture laden with unmet expectations. The intensity of the moment is palpable, but it fades. The sparkle in his eyes, his quickened breath when he is near. You feel it, but also the loneliness behind the apparent connection. There are no deep discussions, no vulnerabilities exposed. He still watches. He still waits. But something has changed. The glances have become heavier, the conversations shorter. The once electric tension now turns into an awkward silence, the type of silence that screams. And you realize that you are not alone in this limbo. He hesitates as well. You see him battling his own demons. Sometimes he averts his eyes. Other times, he asks questions that lead nowhere. There's a shared fear, a paralysis that both of you feed. You can no longer ignore it. The memories begin to surface. The day you laughed together until your stomachs ached. The way his fingers accidentally brushed against yours. A moment that could have been more but wasn't. And with that comes frustration. Why don't you move forward? Why did you allow time to drag on? You wonder if he feels the same, if doubts consume him. The mind begins to create scenarios. You imagine what it would be like if a step was taken. The connection is already there, but the courage is lacking. This impasse reveals more about each of you than any conversation could. You try not to cling to the past, but the memories persist, like shadows cast on a sunny day. You reflect on what you want, what is worth fighting for. The fear of rejection mixes with the desire to move forward, and in this confusion, you feel more lost than ever. Conversations on social media become an emotional battlefield, a series of messages that seem increasingly unsatisfactory. What was once interesting now becomes a burden. You feel the need for something real, something concrete. He must feel it too, right? You notice that he tries, but the attempts are not enough. They are automatic gestures, and in this tug of war, you realize that both sides are waiting for the other to take the initiative. A vicious cycle. The game of glances does not unfold. The space between you shrinks, but the barrier remains. You hope he takes a step forward, but the reality is that this step is also up to you. This idea causes overwhelming anxiety. What happens if you don't act? And if you do and he doesn't reciprocate? Your heart races. You find yourself at a crossroads. The choice seems simple, but it is dreadfully complicated. If you take a step forward and he doesn't follow, you will lose much more than you hope to gain. And then, in a moment of clarity, you realize that this inaction is a form of protection. Protection against pain, against the unknown. But the doubt becomes a burden. Hope is a weight and indecision, a prison. You decide to observe, to feel, no longer being carried away by expectations. Change, you understand, needs to be internal. Maybe it's not about him or what he wants, it's about your truth, your desire. You can no longer hide behind his feelings. This dynamic, this tension, are merely reflections of your own hesitation and insecurity. You cannot wait for someone to come and rescue you. He is also lost in his own web of uncertainties. And as you reflect, you feel a wave of determination. It's not about saving him. It's about saving yourself. It's time to break the cycle. Freedom requires action. You refuse to let more time pass without a genuine attempt at connection. What comes next might be painful, but it's necessary. You need to expose yourself. And in that moment of decision, you understand that life is not waiting. Time is not a friend when it comes to opportunities. You stand up. The impulse is strong. Adrenaline rushes through your veins. Each beat of your heart echoes as a reminder of what is at stake. It's not about love. It's about authenticity. And that is more valuable than any fleeting feeling. So finally, you decide to move. The cost is high, but remaining inactive has proven unsustainable. This silent battle needs to be resolved, and only you have the power to do so. The reality has already been presented. The possibilities are before you. Choose wisely. You move. The impulse is irresistible, but what comes next is the real test. The expectation weighs heavily. Doubt is an echo in your mind. What are you going to say? How can you share what you feel without exposing yourself too much? You don't want to be misunderstood. You don't want to open a wound that may never heal. As you advance, you realize the path you've taken to get here, the fears, the hesitations. Each moment you felt on the sidelines watching something unfold that could have been more, and in this movement, you review the interactions. The shallow conversations become seen as layers of discarded wrapping paper. Everything that could have been revealed, but wasn't. What was missing? Sincerity? Courage? You never wanted to be the one who stood out. You preferred to stay in the background watching things happen. But now this choice turns into a prison. He remains there, static, like a spectator in a theater, ready to see what you decide to do. His gaze is heavy. It's a mixture of curiosity and anxiety, and you feel it. The pressure to present yourself authentically. Now it's no longer just a desire, it's a necessity. And then, in the heart of this confusion, a new perception begins to emerge. It's not just about him, it's about you. It's an opportunity for personal revelation. The raw truth is that this connection is an extension of what you allow yourself. And what have you allowed so far? You allowed yourself to sink into uncertainties, into assumptions, into shadows. In facing this truth, you also notice his fragility, the way he disappears into his own thoughts, as if he's battling invisible demons. He also waits for a sign, a confirmation from you. Meanwhile, the cycle continues, feeding on mutual hesitation. You move closer. The warmth between you increases. The words that once seemed blocked now seem to flow. A simple hi becomes a watershed moment. He watches you with an intensity that almost burns, and in that gaze you feel something you hadn't noticed before. He's vulnerable too. The barrier that has always stood between you was made of uncertainties and fears. What you feel now is an invitation to authenticity. Inside you, a burning flame, a desire to break the chains that bind you. You can feel the need to be honest, to speak, but what to say? How to lay it all out without getting lost in vulnerability? The truth is that love, or any form of meaningful connection, requires risk. And in this space full of possibilities, you realize that inaction is your greatest enemy. Each lapse into silence is a reminder that time will not stop. What slips away are opportunities, not feelings. You know this. As the tension grows, you also notice his fragility. He tries to disguise it, but the small cracks appear. The way he runs his hand through his hair, a nervous gesture. And now, a new layer of the game is revealed. Reciprocity. If he's in this dance, you can dance too. But this requires courage. And courage is more than a mere desire, it's a choice. The choice to give voice to your feelings. The choice to take a risk and not wait for him to make the first move. You take a deep breath. Adrenaline pushes your words forward. I feel something between us. These words come out with a strength you didn't know you had. A wave that breaks the silence. He looks at her surprised, as if he has finally heard something he has been waiting for a long time. His expression changes. Surprise, vulnerability, and perhaps even relief. Now the space between you feels lighter, but still charged with expectation. And you feel the weight of the moment, the freedom of having spoken, the reward of having taken the initiative. He begins to respond, but you can't let doubt return. You cannot retreat. You need to hear what he has to say, even if you are afraid of the answer. The conversation flows. Words that were once stuck now find an outlet. You are starting to build something new. Unspoken promises become speeches. Unreciprocated glances turn into silent declarations. And as each one exposes their insecurities, you realize that it's not just about what was said, but about the honesty emerging from this exchange. It's raw. It's real. Time passes, and you realize that what could have been a fleeting moment becomes a transformation. His gaze now is not just curiosity, it is genuine admiration. The weight of expectation dissipates. What forms is a new dynamic? The question now is, where will this conversation take you? What will be built from this point? You believe that finally the door of communication is opening. And even knowing that this does not guarantee a future, you still feel that this action is an essential step. Possibilities unfold before you. What will be done next? This is a new phase, an unknown territory, but now you know that the choice is yours. Reality has already been presented. Now it is time to shape what is to come.